Before we get deeper into the resources types and what are the main assets that we can access through the agentless method and also through the agent method, we need to take another example on the authentication that we can use using Ivanti Connect Secure or Pulse Connect Secure. This is a very familiar method that you'll probably see in most organizations. A use case as requested by the customer to achieve two-factor authentication. One of these methods is to use the certificate as the first authentication method, and then to achieve the authentication using one of these authentication servers that you can leverage using Ivanti Connect Secure. Maybe it's LDAP, maybe it's an Active Directory server like what we are used to do, maybe it's the local DP. In this demo we are going to do this using a certificate issued from Microsoft Certificate Authority to a client. After this is verified successfully, we are going to validate this client using the username and password created locally on Ivanti Connect Secure. By doing so, we achieved what we call by two-factor authentication. So the curriculum is very simple. The first thing is the client wants to supply his certificate. The certificate, of course, it's pre-issued using Microsoft Certificate Authority, creating a certificate sign request, then signing this request using Certificate Authority from Microsoft. Then there are two main certificates are going to be used here. The first one is the one that will be given to the client. Then the client is going to give the certificate to Ivanti Connect Secure to be verified. And the other certificate is Microsoft Certificate Authority root certificate itself that will be uploaded to Ivanti Connect Secure. And this is used to make Ivanti Connect Secure verifying the client certificate successfully, because the root certificate of Microsoft Certificate Authority is the one that's used to verify that this client certificate is already signed by this Microsoft Certificate Authority. And as we said, once this certificate is verified, the user will enter his credentials according to the authentication method used, whether we are using LDAP integrator to verify these credentials, or maybe the local DB, which we are going to use during this demo. If it failed in the first stage, means the certificate is not verified correctly, then the second stage will not be opened for him. The second stage, which is the place that enables the user to enter his username and password. If one of these stages failed, the client is not going to open the portal to start accessing these resources matched inside the role. Demo stages are very simple. The first step is to make the lab of certificate, issuing certificate from Microsoft Certificate Authority to issue certificates for each client during the domain, or maybe it's not during the domain. In this demo, we're going to use the external client, and the Certificate Authority is installed on local Active Directory test local, which means this external client is not a part of this domain. You can issue certificates still to this client if he is not a part of our domain. So we are not going to use the group policy enrollment method. We are going to use the manual issuing certificate method. Then we need to create an authentication server from type certificate. We have multiple types of authentication servers as we have covered before. One of these authentication servers is called certificate server, and this is used to verify the client certificate. Then under the authentication realm that we used to create, we need to call both of these servers inside this authentication realm, and to choose the authentication method number one to be the certificate authentication server, and to enable additional authentication server, and in this method we can choose test local, local DP, and so forth. Finally, we need to upload the needed certificate. Under certificate trusted client CAs, we need to upload the Certificate Authority root certificate that will be used to verify that this client issued already a certificate from this CA that we uploaded the root certificate of it on Ivanti Connect Secure. So by having this certificate, this is about validating that the client already issued a certificate from this Certificate Authority. Then we need to test. Testing is very simple. The first thing is to issue the certificate to the client. Once the client opened a browser and started to access the internal interface of Ivanti Connect Secure and access the needed URL that will be redirecting him to the correct page to start accessing resources, then a pop-up will be shown to the client to supply his certificate to this web browser, because it must provide the certificate to this web browser. It's not a choice from the client. If he click cancel, then the login page will not be opened for this client. So we need to supply the certificate to the web browser. Then the web browser is going to accept the certificate to be validated again as the policy that's created, of course, through the Certificate Authority root certificate that we have applied. If this certificate is valid and already signed by the certificate authority, then the next stage comes to the scene, which is entering the username and password. Again, is the validation or the authentication server called inside the additional authentication server mechanism. Now let's try the two-factor authentication lab using certificate and also the credentials of the local DP on Ivanti Connect Secure. So this is our test local machine. We have certificate authority installed here, and this is our external client. This external client needs to enroll a certificate from certificate authority. This certificate must be signed by this certificate authority installed right here, and then the certificate authority root certificate will be uploaded here on Ivanti Connect Secure. When the client connects to this appliance, then it will provide the certificate of it to this appliance to be validated, and this validation process will be using this root certificate that we should upload before we test all of these stages. Let's firstly try to enroll a certificate from this certificate authority using some steps, and then let's see if this client has the certificate that will be provided to Ivanti Connect Secure or not. Let's open our external client to see all of these stages. This is our external client. The first step here is to open Run and access MMC. Then here under File, we can add or remove a snap-in. Choose Certificates, click on Add. Then I need this certificate to be shown for this current user that we are using right here. So I'm going to keep it as default and then click on Finish. Then certificates related to this current user will be shown under the console root. So click OK. We have here the certificates related to the current user. Double click on it. The certificate that will be used on the browser to be validated from our appliance Ivanti Connect Secure or Pulse Connect Secure will be put inside Personal. So if I click on Personal, under Certificates, we have only one certificate existed here. I issued this certificate before, but I'm going to ask for a new certificate. So right click here, then All Tasks, Advanced Operations, and then Create Custom Request. What I'm trying to do right now is to create a certificate sign-in request. Then I will provide the certificate sign-in request to the internal CA from test local to be signed. Then I'm going to download the signed certificate and enroll it here on the Personal. So click on Next here, then again one more Next, and here under Details, let's open Properties, and then here let's give it a name to be, for example, External Client, and under Subject, let's fill some data here to be used inside the certificate. All of this data that will be filled here is optional, like for example the common name. Let's use the IP address of the external client to be inside the common name. Let's put an email, for example, and maybe a country. If you want to add some information here, you can use this, but in my case I will not fill any other information except for the alternative name. Let's use an IP address, and the IP address will be the IP address of our client. I will not change anything about the extensions or private key. That's it for the certificate sign request. Click Apply, OK, and Next. Now you want to export the certificate, so let's choose the desktop as our repository of exporting, and let's name this certificate sign request as request2. Click on Save and Finish. Now we have this certificate sign request generated successfully, as you see. I will open it using any text software like Notepad, for example. This is my certificate signer request. I will Control A and then Control C. Now let's open our certificate authority enrollment and start to apply for a certificate. Request a certificate from this internal CE and see if there is any signed certificate should be given to this client or not according to the certificate signing request. Keep in mind, when you work with this, you need to enable web enrollment option in certificate authority during installation. So let's open HTTP, and then I will put the IP address of my internal domain test local, which is 10.10. This is my IIS, as you see, but I don't want this one. I need to put /cert/serve. It's not existed. It's cert/serve. Now let's log in using any user account that's authenticated successfully against Active Directory users and groups. Let's use, for example, Pulse at test local and put the password here. Now, as you see, I can log in using this username and password, part of my Active Directory users and computers. Then let's request a certificate. Now click on Advanced Certificate Request. So I'm going to paste my certificate sign-in request base 64 encoded, and the template is for a client or a user, and then click on Submit. Now we can download this signed certificate from the internal CA. So I'm going to download this certificate and rename it, for example, to call it For User Pulse. If you open MMC again, click refresh here one more time, we should see another certificate here. Okay, we didn't see anything anything because we still didn't install the certificate. So I'm going to install the certificate downloaded here inside downloads repository. So double click on the certificate, click on open, install the certificate. It will be for this current user. Click on next, and let's put the certificate inside personal because this certificate is related to this client. Click on OK, then next, then finish. This means you imported the certificate correctly, and if we get back here, click on refresh in MMC, then we should see that there is a new certificate added on the personal certificates that will be provided to the web browser to be validated from Ivanti Connect Secure or Pulse Connect Secure. As a further verification process, we can also on test local open the certificate authority manager, and then here under issue certificates we can click refresh. We should see a new line here. This certificate is issued to the user that's called Pulse, and now it could be validated against this certificate authority. Now we need to download the certificate authority certificate, which is the CA certificate, to be imported on Ivanti Connect Secure. So here, let me open the same exact IP address search serve from the management PC, and I will download the CA certificate. Download the CA certificate, and I will call it test local CA. This is the certificate that we need to upload to Ivanti Connect Secure. On our Ivanti Connect Secure, the first thing that we need to do is to upload the certificate authority certificate to be able to validate this client certificate that will be provided through the browser. So here under System Configuration, we have Trusted Client Certificate Authorities under Certificates. So click on this link here, then we can import CA certificate. So click on this link, click on Browse, and here this is our certificate test local CA. Click on open and then import the certificate. Now we have our certificate installed successfully. These are the options that you can apply on the client certificate status checking. And as you see, this certificate is trusted for client authentication. Click Save and Changes. And now we are going to create another authentication server from type certificate. So on the authentication servers, we can choose the type here to be certificate server and create a new authentication server from type certificate server. And let's name it Microsoft CA. And to get the username from the certificate attributes, we're going to use the certdn common name. Then click Save Changes. We're going afterwards to verify that this authentication server has some users here verified successfully. Now we have created the authentication server that we are going to use inside our realm as the primary authentication server. So under users, under user realms, I will create a new realm. I will call it two-factor authentication. The first server that we are going to use as a primary authentication server is Microsoft CA, and I will enable additional authentication servers, and this time I'm going to use the system local, and here I'm going to save the changes. Under authentication servers, we have this one here, which is system local. If I click on it, I created a user here called Bob, and I have put a password for this user. We can create a new one, so let's create a new user and let's put the password. So we created a new user here inside the system local DB. Now let's create a new realm. Okay, we have the new realm. We created the realm already. Now let's open our realm, and under role mapping, we can start to create new roles. For the username, I will check this role based on the username, and I will call it checking username. And if this username is the one that we have created, Michael or Michelle, I don't know the correct pronunciation for this, then the role that will be assigned for this role mapping will be users. Click on add, the one that we used before, then click on save changes. Then let's access signing in page. I will create a new URL, and I will name it MFA*/MFA, and the sign in page will be the default sign in page as usual. And here I will pick an authentication realm from this list to be two-factor authentication that includes inside it the two main authentication servers that we have called. Then click on Save Changes. Now we created a new URL under users URLs. Now let's apply our testing criteria to see if our client will supply its certificate to the web browser. Then the web browser is going to provide the certificate to Ivanti Connect Secure when the client accesses this URL, and see if this process is going to be completed or not. This is our client. Let's get back here to the browser, and then I'm going to access this time. Let's open a new incognito window. Let's put the URL 50.53 and then /MFA. Go on enter. As you see, it asked me for the first time to provide a certificate. What will be the certificate that will be provided to Ivanti Connect Secure? I just need to check the certificate. The first one is for Pulse, and the second one right here is for administrator. So I'm going to check the first one here, which is for Pulse, and then click OK. If the validation runs smoothly, then you're going to see this login page to enter your username and password. For example, I'm going to put this one that we called inside the role mapping, because if you see, Bob will not be able to log in because Bob is not called inside the role mapping. Under role mapping, we have created a role based on the username. If the username is this one, then you can log in through your page. Let me put the password here. Okay, I have an issue. You are not allowed to sign in. I don't know actually what is the issue here, but let me see the problem. Okay, let us review these steps. This is the sign-in page. We have the URL, the default sign-in page, and then the authentication rel. Let me open the authentication rel. We have users, we have two-factor authentication, Active Directory. This is our two-factor authentication rel that we need. The role mapping, if the username is this one, then you need to map this role to users. And afterwards, I think we have resource profile created. This resource profile is mapping these resources to users' roles. So all of these steps are made successfully. Here under role mapping, let me change this one to be wildcard. I don't know, I didn't try this before. I don't know what's the issue here. Let me change it to be wildcard. So if we log in through any user, that means we can be selected to have this role, which is users. So click Save Changes, and let's try again. Close all of these browser tabs. Let me open Chrome one more time, and let's try to access HTTPS, and let's put the IP address and then the URL, which is MFA, multi-factor authentication. Let's choose the certificate to be the first one and click OK. Now the first stage is verified successfully. Now under the username, I'm going to put my username that we have created. Click on sign in. Fine. And now we can access our portal and use these web bookmarks that we have tried before to open a session using Pulse Connect Secure.